Can you give us the status on Dejean?
He was getting treatment when I saw him this morning. Coaches got up early and we broke down film and started looking at Rutgers. And he was the first one down here getting treatment. So that's about all I know. We'll see what he can do at practice today.
Some thoughts about Rutgers and Jacob Young.
It was the first time I'm seeing Rutgers. I mean, I didn't see him play this year. But I know that, you know, everybody in that league is a good team, top to bottom. Illinois is the 1 seed in our region. Rutgers beat them. They have outstanding guards. Baker, Young, Harper. Then the kid off the bench last night, McConnell, 5 offensive rebounds, 15 points. Just talented group, as you would expect. People we've talked to around the Big Ten say that they have the 2 guys that stand out is Young's defense, ball pressure. It's like a one-man press, is what he was described by people in that area. And then the big kid up front, Johnson. It's the best combination, rim protector, offensive rebounder, shot blocker in their conference. So, you know, there's only good teams left. It's just a matter of what their strengths are. Jacob Young, I just think he's evolved into a really good basketball player. I think when he came out of high school, everybody knew he was a big-time scorer, but playmaking, shot making, pick and roll game, getting in the paint, in between games, scores at all 3 levels, rim, free throw line, behind the 3-point line. Just a good player.
We'll go to Joseph Duarte with the Chronicle. Joseph, please go ahead.
Good morning, Kelvin.
Hey, Joseph.
Just wanted to go back with Dejean. You know, what we've seen this year when he's come off the floor. You know, you've had Tremont as the first guard off, but how does it change things if he can't go with some of the others? You know, I know last night you had when Tremont went out, you had Jamal come in, use Cam a little bit, but in terms of who has look at Quentin Marcus more, or how does that all play out?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that go into that as far as my thought process. You know, I'm always looking at matchups. You know, when you have 3 really good offensive players on the floor at the same time, most teams don't have 3 really good defensive players to match up with them. So a lot of times I'll look at, you know, what matchup benefits us most. Where can we attack? Where are they weaker? You know, where do we have a matchup that we can benefit? You know, like, you know, part of our problems they start the game last night in the first half. It wasn't rocket science. I mean, you knew exactly what was going on. Number one, Dejean wasn't playing. You know, number 2, Tremont wasn't playing. You know, the guys that go in for them aren't as good as they are, which is why they're not playing. So, but we need those guys to play better. Jamal's a much better player than he played last night. He didn't play very good. You know, I looked into Cam's eyes and I could see all the way to Kokomo. Come on, man. You know, scouting report. Here's our game plan. Boom, boom, boom. I think those guys were nervous, and that's okay. I mean, that's a nervous situation. You know, all of a sudden they're thrust into a role they weren't maybe prepared for. We've got 4 really, really good guards, and once we got to the second half, we got to put them out there. Marcus, Tremont, Quentin, and we constantly found a matchup. It took us a while. Sometimes we had to get to the third side of the floor to get to it. But we found the matchup we wanted. And once we got to it, our kids were organized enough to know how to space around it. And then we had our offensive rebounding built in around that. So, if Dejean doesn't go, then we just adjust. We're not going to call the game off. We're not going to throw in a white towel. We'll play Tremont, Marcus, Quentin, and we'll come off the bench with Jamal and Cam. That's it. And we just got to play better. Those guys, especially Cam and Jamal, they're better than they played last night. I think they'll play better. They got to play 20 plus minutes last night. I think they would have played better the longer they were on the floor, but they didn't. They don't have the same rope. That's just where they are right now.
We'll go to Matt Musa with KHOU. Matt, please go ahead.
I can't hear you, Jeff.
Coach, we'll go to Matt Musa with KHOU. Matt, go ahead, please, sir.
Morning, Kelvin. I was wondering if you could expound a little bit on the development of Marcus Sasser.
As far as what?
Well, we know he's talented. He was talented when he showed up, how you recruited him there, but the way he's developed.
Well, Marcus was on the all-freshman team last year, had several 20-point games. Last year's a true freshman. Marcus has a quiet confidence about him. He's not a loud kid at all. He could be in the room for 2 hours and you wouldn't know he was in there. Marcus and I have my relationships with each one of these kids individually is based on their personalities. I don't talk to Marcus the same way, for instance, that I would talk to Dejean or Reggie. They're all different. They're at all different stages of my confidence in them too. But Marcus was a kid I had confidence in early. Marcus was not a heavily recruited kid, and I could see why, but I also could see why we recruited him heavily. What other people don't value, I do. I don't look at how many stars you have. I could care less what other people think of you. I value my eyes and I value my experience in recruiting kids. I thought Marcus was going to be a good player for us, and I thought he'd be really good from day one. Marcus has had a typical sophomore year in that his role changed a little bit as Dejean came on and then Quentin came on. His role changed, and then we had to kind of reestablish his role again, which is a coach during the year. Your work's never done. Every day you're a fireman. You're putting out some kind of fire. The key is getting it when it's a brush fire before it becomes a forest fire. Because you better see where they're coming. If you smell the smoke, you're usually too late. Marcus was going through some tough things there, but we grabbed him. We spent a lot of one-on-one time together, just working on his game, getting his confidence back. And but Marcus is a kid that doesn't show a lot of outward emotion. I think he will as he goes on, but you got to remember, next year Marcus will be a sophomore. Tremont Mark will be a freshman. Jamal Shead will be a freshman. Kieran Powell will be a freshman. J1 Roberts will be a freshman. Cam Tyson will be a sophomore. When Dejean went down last night, we became very young. That was a young team. Our front line has some seniors, but our backcourt, we're all young. We're all young. When Dejean went out, we're all freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. But I think Marcus stepped up last night because he realized he had to.
Thank you. We'll go to Brian T. Smith with the Houston Chronicle. Brian, please go ahead.
Hey, Kelvin, I was wondering if you could just get in a little to how you've seen Fabian White evolve? Obviously, everyone knows about him coming back this year from the ACL, but just what you've seen from him in terms of his character, his personality, and his devotion to this team and getting better as a college basketball player.
The first time I saw him in high school, Brian, he played on the same high school team with Carson Edwards, the kid that went for the Purdue, which means that the only time Fabian touched the ball is if you got a rebound. And if you did touch it, it was on the post. But we get paid to evaluate. The village idiot can figure out who to recruit. You don't have to be very smart to recruit. It's the evaluation part that's the trick. And being able to project. But when I was watching Fabian, I projected him as a face-up guy. So the first thing I did was evaluate his free throw form. How did he shoot his free throws? Some guys have an 80% release. Some guys have a 40% release. Those 80% release guys that are shooting 65%, they're going to get better. You can develop that. Those 40% release guys, they're going to probably be 50% at best. But if a guy can be an 80% free throw shooter, that means he can shoot. He can shoot. It's like I was sitting in a bar in Taiwan, Taipei one night, listening to Jerry West and Don Nelson talk over beverages. And Jerry West says something that I'll never forget. He said when he was with the Lakers and they brought guys in for their draft workouts, he said he always put them in a 3-on-1. He gave them the ball in a 3-on-1 break, and he watched their decision making. He said the guys that didn't know what to do, he knew right then that didn't know how to play basketball. But they also talked about guys, good shooters are usually good free throw shooters. Bad free throw shooters are usually bad shooters. And little things like that has really stuck with me over the years, how I've learned from other people. And I applied that to Fabian at the free throw line. He didn't shoot jump shots in AAU. He didn't shoot jump shots in high school. He was a dunker, a rebounder, a runner, a center. When I say a 5, I mean a 5'6". He wasn't a 4'5", he was a 5. And it leaned toward the 6. Now he's a 4, 4'5", 5'4", but 4 is a big number in his game. When the season ended last year, I felt like that off season, we needed to get his range to the 3-point line because all of these kids want to play professionally and we have to help them get there. That's part of our responsibility. Winning games, I get that. But I know if Fabian wanted to make money in this game, he's going to have to be able to shoot threes. And I'm telling you, Brian, he's coming. Now he's not a slot 3-point shooter, but he is a corner 3-point shooter. And that's where Justin's gotten better. Justin never shot threes at Towson. Fabian never shot threes in high school, but they really developed that part of their game. And it carries, when they know, it's like walking into a fight, you got something in your pocket to take care of yourself. There's a confidence there. When you can shoot the basketball, you got confidence when that thing rolls off your fingertips, you're confident it will go in. It gives you a swagger that you can't teach. And I think that's where Fabian's made his biggest improvement. He's developed a swagger. Now, Fabian's always been a good fouler. Our teams are physical. I get that. They always have been. We don't call fouls for 2 months. Then all of a sudden we get in the game and we've got to stop fouling. But I'd rather tune them down than have to tune them up. That's always been my philosophy on fouls. Last night we did a great job of playing with our hands here versus our hands here. Getting Fabian back. Last night when Quentin was kind of out of sorts, and I know it was a DeJon effect. We had a DeJon effect there for a little bit. But I said, okay, I remember one time out, I said, we're not going to go through these guards. We got to get them settled down. We're going to go through Fabian. And we have an action. Fabian likes the ball on the left side and turning face. with the middle being his right hand. You know, we got him in his area a couple times and he delivered. But that's the value of having a starter coming off the bench. You know, with Fabian there, Justin played a role last year. Fabian goes down. Now Justin has become the starter. But Fabian's still a starter, and he's still working his way in. He's not back 100%. You can tell that. But, boy, it's a peaceful, comforting feeling knowing that you can bring Fabian White off the bench.
Thank you, Brian. We'll go to Chris Baldwin with Paper City. And I got time for one or maybe two more questions. Chris, go ahead.
Coach, you showed a lot of confidence in Tremont throughout the year, you know, keeping his minutes, you know, pretty consistent no matter what. What approach did you sort of take to developing him, and how does his confidence, natural confidence, sort of help?
Well, I've had so many different freshmen, like Nate Hinton. Nate Hinton came in here a man, very mature, was raised in a church, had a very balanced life. Responded to things well, whereas Tremont's a little bit flighty. You know, he's you know, sometimes I think Tremont's the kid over in the corner chewing bubble gum, popping it while you're talking. I mean, he's just flighty, but he's a good flighty. There's bad flighties and there's good flighties. He's a good flighty. You just don't know him. He's naive, you know. You know, when I get on Tremont early in the year, he didn't know what I was doing. He didn't know I was getting on him. I said, son, do you understand you're getting your ass chewed out right now? Do you understand where you are? You know, that was just kind of the way he was. But there's something endearing about him, because he's so honest and pure. But he's had to learn what college basketball is about. You know, there's some days in practice I'd call him Dickinson. Look, Dickinson, that's just not the way we do it here. Let us help you. You know, sometimes Tremont thought Tremont's favorite offense is give and go, give it to me and go to hell. You know, it's kind of what he did in high school. Just give it to me and I'll go do my thing. Whereas here we got 4 other players that are spaced, that are going to relocate based on where the ball goes. And he just didn't know how to do any of that. But it was fun teaching him. It was fun teaching him because he was a willing, eager learner. And boy, what a great kid. I love Tremont. He's an easy kid to let play through his mistakes. When he played good early, not a surprise. When he played poorly coming out of COVID, not a surprise. The fact that he's playing good now, not a surprise. That kid's good. You know, it's like last year watching Justin every day in practice. We knew what you guys didn't know, obviously, that Justin's a good player. You know, you got Chris Harris and Bryson at the 5, then you got Fabian and Justin. Well, Bryson and Chris are going to come out, and Fabian's going to play 28, 29 minutes. So that didn't leave a whole lot of opportunity for Justin. All of a sudden, Fabian goes down. Now here comes Justin. Now the same thing with Tremont. You know, Caleb Mills. We had Dejean, we had Quentin, and we had Marcus. Now all of a sudden, Tremont is in the same position that Nate was his freshman year. Nate was playing behind Corey, Armani, Galen, and Dejean. Nate was 5. Tremont was 5, but they were different in their spots. Tremont is more talented with the ball in his hands than Nate was. Nate was tougher and more mature and more refined than Tremont was. But you can see how much better Tremont's going to be as the season wore on. Look at him against Texas Tech. Didn't surprise us. I've seen him wear out Quentin in practice, seen him wear out Dejean. There's some days I would make Tremont and Marcus and Dejean and Quinn. I'd put them on the line and wear them out because they couldn't guard Tremont. Tremont just grinning. He liked the fact that he was making them run. I said, I want you to like the fact that you're 4 for 5 from the field and you got 4 assists and no turnovers. Quit being happy that you're making them run. Understand what it is you're doing, why they're running. But he's also one of those kids that you may not realize how good he is till next year. You know, if Quentin's gone, Dejean's gone, you know, like everybody in our program, you know, it becomes your turn. And then we just go on with that team. But Tremont can do a lot of things. When he's getting 30 plus minutes a game, I think you guys are going to see a complete player.